Good morning, all. May I request all of you to stand up for the prayers, please?
गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः विघ्नेशानमुनी गुरु सस्मरुनी लक्ष्मी स आवाहिले आम्ही गुंतवणूक शास्त्र शिकण्या हे सत्र आरंभिले केव्हा स्थावर आणि जंगम कधी कोठे किती गुंतवू चर्चा मंथन तज्ञ बोध मिळता हे प्रश्नही सोडवू ठेवी भाग सुवर्ण पोस्ट अथवा रोखे तसे फंडते वृद्धी भांडवली मिळो कर नको पर्याय हो कोणते कोठे उत्तम रोखता सुगमता लाभांश वा व्याजही कोठे गुंतविणे सुरक्षित असे नोंदीस कैसी वही सन्मार्गे धन संपदा मिळविणे अत्यंत आवश्यक पैसा ध्येय नसे म्हणून जपणे जाणीव सामाजिक ज्ञानाचा उपयोग गुंतवणुकी साठी सदा होऊ दे हे सारे समजावया सुमती दे आम्हास तू शारदे.
Good morning once again. Markets have remained irrational or more volatile for now almost 15 months. It's time to connect to spirituality because when you can't find ways, maybe we find ways through our granthas, and that's what we thought to have Bhagvatgita and the art of investment as a topic for today's session. Let me begin with in giving an introduction of our today's speaker. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, a pioneering figure in India's financial sector. With a remarkable career spanning several decades, he was instrumental in shaping the landscape of merchant banking and capital markets in India. He managed over 150 IPOs till 1982 and played a key role in long-term loan syndication for various industrial houses, FERA companies and government enterprises, including renowned organizations such as JK Industries, GACL, Hindustan Lever, Maharashtra Scooters, Reliance Industries, etc. He introduced innovative practice such as mobilizing unsecured fixed deposits in an organized and professional manner, becoming the largest corporate fixed deposit mobilizer in his time. A visionary, he was also responsible for introducing portfolio management in India as early as in 1974 and provided a wide range of corporate financial services including capital raising, venture capital, mergers and acquisitions and more. His leadership was recognized at the highest level. He was elected president of Bombay Stock Exchange for 94-95 when he implemented BOLT BSE online trading system and also established the Central Depository and Securities Limited CDSL known, significantly modernizing the Indian securities market. He has served as an independent director on boards of various listed and unlisted companies, gaining valuable insight into corporate growth, value creation and people management. Beyond his professional achievements, our speaker is renowned thought leader and educator, having delivered more than 6,000 lectures across 48 cities in India on topics such as stock market investments, portfolio management, corporate governance, venture capital, etc. Currently, he shares his wisdom through discourses on Srimad Bhagvatgita, emphasizing its relevance in both personal and professional life, inspiring others towards value-based investing. Please join me in welcoming this extraordinary individual whose contributions have left an indelible mark on Indian capital markets. So welcome. Before I hand over the mic to, I would like to felicitate Mr. Merchant. I would request Mr. Chidade to hand over the. respond on it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. So over to you.
I don't need this.
You didn't. I'll just remove this. Yeah. No problem.
जय श्री कृष्ण। आज महाशिवरात्रि का दिन है, तो महाशिवरात्रि का शिव जी का एक स्तोत्र, ओम वंदे देवम उमापतिं सुरगुरुं वंदे जगत्कारणं वंदे पन्नगभूषणं मृगधरं वंदे पशूनां पतिं वंदे सूर्यशशाङ्कवह्निनयनं वंदे मुकुन्दप्रियं वंदे भक्तजनाश्रयं च वरदं वंदे शिवं शङ्करम्। श्रीकृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। ॐ श्रीहरिं परमानन्दम् उपदेष्टारम् ईश्वरं व्यापकं सर्वलोकानां कारणं तं नमाम्यहं। भवतापप्रणाशिन्ये आनन्दघनमूर्तये ज्ञानभक्तिप्रदायिन्ये मातस्तुभ्यं नमो नमः। ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। Those who are expecting that I'll give you tips will be dissatisfied. I am not a tipster, never been ever. If I was a tipster, I would have been at race course and not here, or not my market. But it is generally expected of me whenever I go and I'm invited to deliver some lectures on stock markets and the investments and all. Most of the time, after the lecture is over, the questions that are asked to me is only about Sahib શું લાગે છે, આ શેર કેવો લાગે છે, પેલા શેરમાં શું થશે, like kind of thing. And I was also many a time in our professional bodies like Institute of Chartered Accountants, Institute of Company Secretaries, where they have also invited me, including IMA. At the end they will say, "Saab ko tip do na." So that means my 1.5 hour lecture before them, the professionals, has gone, I don't know whether overhead or nobody is interested in understanding the market. Primarily, what drives you to bring my market is your greed. It's a common human element, nothing wrong with it. But can you define the degree of greed that will bring you to my market and where Dalal Street becomes Halal Street for you? Please understand, investment is a science, though inexact, but it is a science. You must remember this, and therefore, what I am going to touch upon today is, I am a student of Bhagvatgita. Right from my school days, when Acharya Pandurang Shastri had asked me or made me cram the entire 700 slokas without explaining what is the meaning of this. Today I don't remember 700 slokas, but I understand the marma of this granth. That is what we need to imbibe, and how do we bring this particular learning into our day-to-day life, personal life, and including our business life, Vyavaharik life. This is where I personally feel ये निकाल दूँ? नहीं, इसके दोनों सही से. Okay. I have written an article for you people. After this particular thing, Mr. Dhruv is going to distribute, for all of you. I said the teachings of Bhagavad Gita are singularly divine. There is such a uniqueness in this small-sized work that a real seeker of one's salvation, means Kalyan, is at once attracted by the mere study of this great Grantha. If a man reads and grasps even a little from this sacred book, several satisfying disciplines or ways become available to him for his life's fulfillment. Life always bristles with problems of varying magnitude. They are as incessant as waves on the sea. Individuals solve them, each according to his discernment and ability. This process of surmounting problems constitutes progress in life. So is our investment market. But sooner or later, a major crisis crops up, proving itself insurmountable, and worldly wisdom are of no avail to meet it. Self-knowledge inspired by divine grace alone can equip a person to overcome the crisis. Laws of nature are eternal and uniform. What happens once is bound to repeat itself under similar circumstances. Through the drama of human life, Bhagavad Gita demonstrates the divine principles which are irrevocably linked with progress of life. The gist of its teaching is, fight the battle of life. Let the virtue in you vanquish the vice. Any useful work that falls to your lot gives you enough of opportunity for self-discipline, emulation and emancipation. The divinity within is in your ever-available guide. Attuning yourself to it, do your job as splendidly as you can, and every one of us is obliged to wage a Mahabharata war in and through our own life. Any person endowed with normal human traits is competent enough to study and to put into practice the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. It is not meant for only the scholars. Shri Krishna's attitude towards earthly career, when he came, विष्णु भगवान जब ने अवतार लिया तो उनका पृथ्वी के ऊपर 3 सेगमेंट में बनाता हूँ, बाल क्रीड़ा, युवावस्था and then his king. He sets an example in regard to the attitude one should assume towards one's earthly career. Long before he commenced his teens, his sprightly sports at Vrindavan had all been completed. He viewed this world as a huge playground. Life here is a delightful game. आ जाए ना शाम को मैच. One ought to be a willing and joyful participant in this play. His boy's innocent indulgences are indications of this attitude. One is expected to enter into life in the spirit in which a sportsman enters into his game. To such a person, this earth is a mansion of rejoice. But to him who plays his part with reluctance or disgust, this earthly career is a painful burden. This is the message of the Bal Krishna of Vrindavan. In the later part of his life, he became a Kurukshetra Krishna. Then he threw light of another you in life. Mundane existence is veritable warfare. Nothing here on earth is achieved without a fight. He who has not learned to wage the war of life does not inherit anything here or hereafter. The indulgent child cries to its mother for every trifling thing that it desires to own. That is a kind of battle befitting a baby. In order to secure a post or a job, a workman exhibits his talents and dexterity. That is an engagement of another pattern in the battle of existence. If a man has taken a forward step in any field, it means he has successfully fought for it. Building empires and strengthening them are the outcome of various kinds of warfare. Shri Krishna has himself demonstrated how to face baffling situations in life. His earthly career viewed from this angle is an endless warfare. His practice and precept go to corroborate this viewpoint. Bhagavad-Gita teaches one to equip oneself for the battle of life. You ask any successful investor whom you know, Rakesh of course is no more there, but there are quite a few others. I don't know how many of you had any chance to meet any one of them. Sit with him even for 10-15 minutes, you will realize, they are down to earth people. They have imbibed something valuable which it is not transparent enough or visible enough for us to understand and imbibe. But these are the kind of principles, which they have not studied Bhagavad Gita. But they knew how to approach their own business goal. And that's where Bhagavad Gita teaches us a lot of things. The Bhagavad Gita offers powerful lessons for investors, especially in cultivating discipline and practicing detachment from outcomes. You normally, when you lose money, you lose your mental balance. घर में भी मारामारी होती है, बीवी के साथ भी झगड़ा होता है, बच्चों के साथ भी झगड़ा होता है, क्यों? जस्ट बिकॉज यू हैव लॉस्ट. दैट मीन्स आपका बैलेंस, समत्वम डिस्टर्ब हो गया ना. क्यों? बिकॉज यू हैड समथिंग इन योर माइंड टू अटेन समथिंग इन शॉर्ट टर्म. It doesn't get realized, and then you lose your balance. Bhagavad Gita will teach us how, through that shloka number 48, 49 in second adhyay, Sankhya Yoga, Samatvam Yoga Yuchyate. Equanimity or equipoise is the in thing. Given the situation, garmi, sardi, dukh, sukh, dukh, प्रतिकूल अनुकूल परिस्थिति, इसके अंदर हमारा समत्व, हमारा बैलेंस लूज नहीं होना चाहिए. वी मस्ट मेंटेन अवर इक्विलिब्रियम, वी मस्ट मेंटेन अवर इक्विपॉइस, so that we can accept the reality as such. And the person who accepts the reality, वास्तविकता का जब स्वीकार करते हैं हम, तब हम सच्चे मनुष्य कहलाते हैं. मार्केट में तो ये तो उथल पाथल तो होती ही रहेगी. लास्ट 3-4 महीने में क्या कमाया आप? ऐसा नहीं, मेरा भी पोर्टफोलियो 40% डाउन है, बट आई एम नॉट वरीड. Why? Because fundamentally my research which I had carried out and taken the investment decisions, those shares, those companies are still good. Because of external reasons, today not only the domestic reasons, but we are also facing financial markets in India is completely integrated globally. So even all the global reasons, including geopolitics which is affecting this market adversely, no one knows how the market would come out of it. This uncertainty currently is a continuous, consistent, ongoing process. How do we meet with this? And that's why don't lose your balance, don't lose your equilibrium, and you must remember this. So let's start with discipline. What is the discipline? Cultivate a habit of savings out of your earned income. That is the first thing. Whatever my existing incomes are, these practicing chartered accountants will tell you they are known in Income Tax Act as earned income. I have to save out of this particular thing regularly so that I can secure my future. My objectives of that particular thing would differ from person to person. Children's higher education, buying a new home, even the medical expenses, emergency of your parents, etc., etc. So how would you deploy this particular fund? So if you put in place the habit of savings compulsorily, it will help you. Then number 2 is you must learn where to deploy this particular saving to generate future income or additional income. What is they called is unearned income. Am I right? So every earned income person must also try to earn unearned income. And that's where investment comes in. And that's where you need to remember, you have to discipline yourself, right? First is habit is save karo. Maybe today's generation Z, they differ from us. Bolder than spend today, save tomorrow. Our mantra was save today, spend tomorrow. But it happens. Still it doesn't destabilize a person's way of thinking and approaching the market. Please remember, both the even generation G, they are also coming to me almost every Sunday. I have a counseling thing in my home. And many of them are MBAs, many of them are still pursuing their undergrad or post graduation, and they sit and they mainly come with this because they are coming from wealthy family. Sir, ek idhar lagane ka. And they normally talk about crypto. I said, look, I know nothing about crypto. Really. When I know nothing, I admit I know nothing. I will not talk on that because it will misguide anybody. So, you must learn where to deploy these savings. Then number 3, after learning, decide or understand your risk profile, your risk tolerance. आप कितना risk ले सकते हो? Don't look at me or my other market participants, their risk profile may be very high because their total income is very high. And risk and reward run parallel. You never forget. Higher the risk, higher the reward, and vice versa. So you need to decide your risk profile. And that is where discipline comes in. And that is where Bhagvatgita's teachings will help you a lot. That how you would discipline, in order to learn all these things, define your own risk profile, and then take where to deploy this particular savings. कोई किसी से बोलने से नहीं करने का. मैं भी बोलूँ तो घर पे जाके उसके ऊपर होमवर्क करो. If you feel satisfied, invest. Otherwise, don't take my recommendations. I always say this. I say this after 57 years of my life spent in this market. I don't call me myself an expert because here learning is a continuous ongoing process. Technical obsolescence is less than 24 hours. What I did on Monday in my office doesn't work on Tuesdays. That is the rate at which the market obsoletes. So you must remember, what you did few months back doesn't work today. Fundamentals have changed. There are many such companies I would tell you, say, take for instance, Greaves Cotton. किसने कितने नाम सुना है? जितने elderly person है उनको ही मालूम है Greaves Cotton का है. This company is a debt-free company. Very good free cash flow. 5 different departments which they are going to demerge. All doing well. Still the share price is around 160 or so, less than, around about twice the book value. Normally, you see, if in today's time, in my time when I started my career way back in 69, normally market price to book value ratio was 3:1. Today in many companies it is 10:1. So if your book value is 10, your market price should be 100. But look at Greaves Cotton. Just go back home or when the lecture is over, see on your Google, what is their financial position. Still this share doesn't go up, it doesn't give me the return. Why? Number A, it doesn't command the fancy of the market. Please remember, the fancy of the market is one of the very prime mover of a share price. Because if it enjoys the fancy, there are traders enough in the market to trade in that share on a regular basis, which creates the market price. In case of Greaves Cotton, there are no such player. So despite good fundamentals, despite good results, I had bought at 258 and price is 169. तो क्या करूँ? Panic selling? No. Wait, this uncertainty of the market, maybe say 3 months, 6 months hence it will disappear. Market will find its own groove back to this kind of a, buoyancy. The share price would go up to 300. Don't take this thing as a recommendation. नहीं तो कल मेरे को पकड़ेगा, आपने तो बोला था 300 रुपया. Reliance F series issue, my conference was in Dubai. I explained to them F series debenture issue. And while taking the refreshments, one of the guys asked me, "Sir, आपको Orke का क्या लगता है?" Orke was doing well at that time. In my opinion, you should get out of Orke. तो क्या बोलता है मालूम है? आप तो Reliance का आदमी है, बोलेगा ना Orke बेच दो. Next year, G series issue, once again F series issue, I am in Dubai. Those days, Dhirubhai had said, you must have a cocktail party after your meeting is over. So in cocktail, the same guy came. Sir, आपने बोला था, हाँ मैं बोला था और के बेच दो, तुम नहीं बेचा, और के crashed. मैंने कहा आपने जोर से नहीं बोला था बेच दो. See, investor would find some kind of the reason or other, right? without doing his own self-study. This is what Bhagvatgita teaches you in terms of discipline. Have you learned how to make an investment? If not, don't come to this market directly. Mutual funds are created for you. Come via them. Don't come to this market directly. It is a professional market and you need to understand this particular game with patience and perseverance. These are the two traits which most of the investors don't possess. You must remember this. This would help define your investment objective and choose appropriate investment avenues, means asset class, whether equity, mutual fund, debt, fixed deposit, precious metal, etc., depending on your risk profile. Now, in case of equity, what is the discipline in investing from the point of view of what Bhagavad-Gita, as I have understood? These emphasizes self-discipline and consistency, advocating steady action directed by rational planning instead of impulsive reactions, which we normally see among the investors. Many a times when the market, now I don't do that, but when I was very active and young enough, I used to travel when the market was passing through a buoyant phase in suburban train, Ville-Parle to Churchgate. And most of the people in that particular compartment is an expert on investment. अरे मैं तो बोलता था ये ऐसे होने वाला है करके. And you overhear that. They don't know who I am, but I enjoy that particular thing. You know why? Whenever that I am called to discipline this a lot in some of the professional bodies, I used to tell them, look, please don't don't get yourself indulged into this kind of useless activities or useless talk or thinking. कभी कभी हमारा आपको मालूम है चर्चगेट पे एम्बेसडर होटल है. It was a famous place for our brokers to have our evening there for discussion. तो बॉयंसी में सितंबर 74 की बात करता हूँ, 94 sorry, when the primary market was going through dizzy heights, when I was the chief of stock exchange. So I heard one guy, young, they were enjoying their drinks and said, यार मैंने 5,000 रुपया डाला था 50,000 हो गया. तो बाकी का 3 दोस्त बोलता है साला रोज साथ में दारू पीता है और तू हमको नहीं बोलता है, अकेला इन्वेस्ट करता है. So they formed a kitty, created 1 lakh rupees, invested. वो 5,000 का 50,000 मतलब 1 लाख का 1,000 रुपया हो गया. Market doesn't give you that kind of a return. This is where the investor need to caution themselves. Never expect this kind of short-termism. Short-term is a short-term. People ask me, Bhagirath bhai, can you describe what is short-term, what is medium-term, what is long-term? I think it is a mindset. There is nothing like that. But your objective has to keep your funds deployed for a longer time, at least minimum 5 years. I give this example most of the times. Symphony, air cooler manufacturer. They made their issue in 95. I managed it. The promoter gave me 1,200 shares. My total investment in that share was 45,000 rupees. Then they subdivided the face value of 10 into 1. So my 1,200 shares became 12,000. 95 and today we are in 26. After 30 years, I am still holding those shares. Do you have patience? You hold your life insurance policy for 30 years, but never your investments for 20, 30 years. Or even 5 years, chalo. You don't have patience. This is where, please understand this, long-term goal, long-term planning and appropriate your own study will give you that kind of return. मैंने उसमें कुछ ये नहीं किया है. I knew that in this particular segment they are the best. If you know how to look at the balance sheet, just even as an ordinary investor, you may not be an accounting professional, it's fine. Just look at the balance sheet and the profit and loss account. In profit and loss account, they tell you that this year their sales have jumped by 30%. Look in the balance sheet, what are the sundry debtors? Bills receivables. If bills receivables are 60-70% of total sales, what is the meaning of that sales? It's a credit sale. Look at immediately then their working capital borrowing. Huge. So interest burden. Why? Because your cash cycle is extended. Your free cash flow is not there. Can you study on your own like this? When I came back from US after doing my MBA, I used to take 6 months to analyze my balance sheet. Remember, with MBA degree, 6 months to analyze the annual report. हमारे गुजराती में बोलते हैं MBA. This even Adit Babu had told me this because I used to handle his account as an investment banker. He says, Bhagirath, you know what is the full form of acronym MBA? મહા બેવકૂફ આદમી. हमारे गुजराती में बोलता है मने बधु आवड़े छे. कुछ नहीं होता है ऐसा. आप कितना भी डिग्री लेके आओ, मार्केट इज द बेस्ट टीचर. I have learned so many things in this material market because in my young days also, I know I used to travel outside India 6 months in a year. I was the first man who started mobilizing money from NRI even before the right of repatriation came in 73. So वो young blood, स्टाइल मारने का, ये करने का, टोन में बात करने का, ऐसा थप्पड़ मारा है मार्केट ने मेरे को. फिर मैं सोचा ये थप्पड़ पड़ी तो बहुत अच्छा हुआ, पॉजिटिवली. अदरवाइज मैं जो आज हूँ वो होता ही नहीं. Market is the best teacher. Please understand it. You know it gives you that kind of a teachings, but it takes time. It is not overnight. Nothing is overnight. So you must understand here. First is committing to a thoughtful strategy. आपने इन्वेस्टमेंट को कभी भी स्ट्रेटेजी बनाया है? भगवत गीता में अर्जुन को कृष्ण भगवान यही कह रहा है कि तेरे को युद्ध क्यों करना है, क्योंकि वो तो बोल गया था सिदंती मम गात्राणी, बैठ गया. और 18 अध्याय में देखो, सब सुनने के बाद बोला करिष्ये वचनम तव. ये जो भगवत गीता की यात्रा है ना, सिदंती मम गात्राणी से लेके करिष्ये वचनम तव, दिस इज द लर्निंग. आर यू प्रिपेयर्ड फॉर दैट? It requires patience. It requires patience. At any age, you can still do this, you can still perfect the art of investments where your success rate would be around 70%. And when your success rate is 70%, it is a wonderful rate of return. We as venture capitalists, we undertake much larger risk than the promoters themselves. But we understand that industry so well, so we invest, we hold. We hold for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, max 7 years. Right? And then by IPO, offer for sale निकल जाते हैं ना. पर 7 साल 5 साल पकड़ के रखते हैं ना. आप 5 साल 3 साल पकड़ो ना, चलो ना, चलो. आपकी धीरज का ज़्यादा इम्तिहान नहीं लेने का. You must have that patience. Please understand, the investment is a strategy. तो आपका investment objective क्या है? See if you are investing in mutual fund scheme. Read the objective of that mutual fund scheme. Does it match with your objective? If matches with only when your investment objective is matched with that, invest in that scheme, not otherwise, just because it's a mutual fund. Please understand. You need to understand this, and this would also depend on your risk profile. Then second point is avoiding short-term speculation and overtrading. If you plan anything to be earned in short term, as I said, and I say repeatedly, short term doesn't give you money. एक बार दे दिया 5,000 का 50,000, फिर तो no, market doesn't give you that kind of a money. Because in any company that you invest, say it's a manufacturing company, industrial company, right? Even currently we look at this kind of companies. Take the company like Triveni Turbine, one of the best companies in that segment. But ever since this character Trump in last June talked about tariff, it was about, their dispatch was about to go, they had to stop it. So their September quarter results were weak, followed by December quarter. Also now December quarter is given a reasonable thing because they depend morely on exports. But see, it's also a zero debt company almost. Still the market is not reflecting that kind of a thing. I am holding on my that share. मेरा कुछ हिला नहीं है ना. मैं देखता हूँ रोज. I don't look at my portfolio daily. That is another habit that I will come to you. You know what people normally do. So when you talk about short term, never indulge in short term. Third is regularly reviewing and adjusting investments based on personal financial goals and not market fads. मार्केट कुछ भी कहे आपको, चांदी किसने किसने लिया था देखा, ईटीएफ लिया था कि फिजिकल लिया था, गोल्ड भी ईटीएफ लिया था कि फिजिकल लिया था, कभी किसी ने गोल्ड बॉन्ड, सोवरेन गोल्ड बॉन्ड लिए थे 7-8-10 साल पहले लिए थे, यू मेड मनी किलिंग राइट, बट यू आर फोर्स टू होल्ड इट टिल मैच्योरिटी, खुद की नहीं पकड़ के रखने की 7 साल की ताकत नहीं ना, नहीं, because you have to hold it for 7 years, you got that kind of a thing. Fortunately, the gold prices went up thanks to Trump, geopolitical uncertainties. लेकिन आज लोग पूछते भी है, मेरे को म्यूचुअल फंड में आया था, मर्चेंट साहब अभी आप कौन सा प्रेसियस मेटल का ईटीएफ लाने वाले हो, मैं तो कॉपर, बोलता कॉपर इज अनदर गोल्ड, कॉपर कहाँ आ सकता है, कॉपर कहाँ आ सकता है ईटीएफ, तो बोले क्यों, एवरी मेटल इज बिकम सो प्रेशियस जस्ट बिकॉज यू आर रीडिंग इन द न्यूज़पेपर, जस्ट बिकॉज द मार्केट्स आर मेकिंग नॉइजेस, नो, this is what you must remember and take care of yourself. And fourth is maintaining patience and perseverance even when markets are volatile or uncertain. This is the exact time in which we are. Volatility is there. Volatility has a value and therefore we have F&O segment. Because of volatility in F&O we play, which discovers the market price for the shares which are listed. Discovery process, discovery of price takes place in F&O. Unless there is a speculation which is a social good, no market can be liquid. And please don't keep this particular thought in your mind that speculation and gambling are the same. No, they are different. Gambling has no social good. Gambling is for personal pleasure. If you win, you pay tax. You lose, you don't get set off. Whereas speculation, I'll give you a classic example in a commodities market. You know, we had, say I am a farmer, I know I have 1,000 acres of land, I know what 1,000 acreage will give me what quantity of my crop 6 months hence, but I incur all the cost upfront. Every cost, seeds, manure, fertilizers, labor cost, electricity, water tax, whatnot, everything. But I don't know when I take the harvest, what would be the price of this particular? I only know my input cost. So we introduced a forward contract those days. वो रुमाल पे हाथ रख के, you know, finger language से भाव ताल. But in the forward market, the defaulting party, if he commits a default, there was no recourse to take action against him because it was an unauthorized, right, market, forward market. So the market, commodity market was created and we introduced futures contract, exactly like forward contract. But it suffered from one lacuna. In forward market or futures market, the seller must perform and the buyer must perform by taking delivery. They had no option because anything can happen from the sowing season to the harvesting season. If you have good rains, the market price would fall because of bumper crop. If there are no rains, the crop would fail and the market price would go up. So do you have an option to take advantage of that market forces? No. So we invented options contract, whereby there is no definite obligation on the party to deliver the physical stocks. I have an option to get out and book my profits. So at the ultimate day, on the day of maturity, the holder of option contract will deliver. Now this is a speculation. Unless this speculation is in place, no price, cash price can ever be determined. So speculation is a social good, but over speculation is no good. Please remember this. Speculation per se, because मेरी जब शादी हुई ना, I got married at the age of 30 years. And no father of a girl was prepared to give his girl to me. बोला ये तो MBA है, CA भी है और गधा है, speculator है. See, the perception of the public was, anybody going to Dalal Street was perceived as a Satodia. So I always call that my father-in-law, he was the greatest venture capitalist. He gave me his daughter, and he, of course, he is no more. But remember this, what happens is, in the market, the disconnect between perception and performance is greatest. Perception of the market, everyone sitting here will have a perception. मैं पूछूंगा आपको क्या लगता है कल मार्केट, अरे नहीं यार नहीं खुलेगा बरोबर, तोड़ देगा, क्यों, अरे आज रात को न्यूज़ आया ना, टोक्यो टूट गया, न्यूयॉर्क टूट गया, ये बोला नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं, अपने पे इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा. This differing perception makes the market. Don't forget this. But this differing perceptions doesn't have a proper connect with the actual performance of the market or actual performance of the companies. This disconnect we play in the market through F&O. You are not an expert in that. And even if you are an expert, don't indulge into that. Accept this disconnect of perception and this thing as a reality. Period and full stop. Then mindful investment approach. From discipline, what would arise? By adopting the Gita's mindset, number one, investors set clear personal goals and do not compare their progress or portfolio with others, which is a common thing. यार मैंने तो ऐसा किया, वो फेंकता भी होगा ना, और तुम मान लेते हो, and you get destabilized. चलो यार, then you know fear में बेच भी देखो अच्छा शेयर, क्योंकि अभी मार्केट टूट गया लेने के बाद. अभी ये सीमेंट्स एनर्जी का आइडियल, सीमेंट्स एनर्जी गॉट लिस्टेड, आई रिकमेंडेड दैट शेयर. द वाइफ ऑफ माई फ्रेंड, शी जस्ट मेट मी ऑन 26 January इन आवर जू जिमखाना ધ્વજવંદન के लिए. અરે ભગીરથભાઈ, તમે સિમેન્ટ્સ એનર્જીના શેર અપાવે એને એનર્જી જ નીકળી ગઈ. सी दिस एलिगेशन. तो मैं तो जब 3600 रुपया हुआ तब मेरे को फ़ोन नहीं किया, तूने बुक पूरा नहीं किया पड़ा. अभी 2100 हो गया इसलिए मेरे को बोलती है सीमेंट्स में एनर्जी नहीं है. मैं तो आई में बायर एट 2100. 4 दिन के बाद वापस 2700 हो गया, अभी कितना 2600 के आसपास है. लुक, फंडामेंटली गुड शेयर्स you must keep on holding despite this kind of a volatility in their prices because of the markets uncertainty. Nobody is playing in that particular share. Siemens Energy is not the share which is volatile. In F&O segment, we select the scripts which are volatile. Then only you can play, no? If there is no volatility, सट्टा क्या करोगे? आप समझ में आया? तो ये please remember this, that decide your personal goals and keep on reviewing every 6 months or 3 months, right? What is the performance of your investment? Even if it doesn't matches with the market, but if you have done the study and you have those kind of fundamentals available to you, hold it. There is nothing wrong. Don't get, this fear will, make you sell the good shares at a throwaway price. And when the market finds its own level, you will खुद को ही खुश हो गया, अरे यार मैं बेच दिया ये शेयर, पकड़ के रखा होता अच्छा होता. And second thing is take responsibility for decisions rather than blaming the market or other advisors. This is another important part and practical part, and this is what Bhagvatgita says. आत्मा मंथन करो. किसी के सामने उंगली करोगे तो 3 times you are ज़्यादा दोषी हो. तो नहीं, आत्मा मंथन करो. मेरे कहने से भी अगर आपने कुछ सोचे बिना शेयर लिया है तो उसमें फॉल्ट आपका है, मेरा नहीं. मैं तो कुछ भी बोलूँगा, बिकॉज माई गोल डजंट मैच विथ योर गोल, नॉट डू आई नो योर गोल्स. तो मैं कुछ भी लेक्चर में भी बोलूँगा और चाय पीते भी बोलूँगा, आप ले लोगे, बोलेंगे यार ये लोग तो बना के गया, बड़ा बड़ा आदमी लोग आता है और कुछ सोचता नहीं है. हाउ डू आई नो what are your goals? So please don't do this. Then let's look at detachment now. Detachment is what? Managing emotions. Investor के emotions बड़े गहरे होते हैं और बड़ी करुणादायक होते हैं. मेरे जैसे आदमी को फिर 2 के 3 हैंडकरचीफ रखने पड़ते हैं उसके आंसू पोंछने के लिए. In this market, emotions have no play, no place. Please understand this. The principle of निष्काम कर्म, 2nd अध्याय सांख्य योग में उसने बात की है. Doing your duty without attachment to results is particularly relevant to investment psychology. Why? Because the investor would benefit by staying focused on well-researched decision rather than obsessing over market outcomes. If you have done your research well and if you have invested, stay put, period. Don't look at the market outcomes. Second point, letting go of emotional attachment to specific stocks or portfolio results. कल वैलेंटाइंस डे था ना, तो मैं बोल दो नेवर फॉल इन लव विथ योर पोर्टफोलियो शेयर्स. दिस इज इमोशनल अटैचमेंट. प्लीज अंडरस्टँड. एक बहुत लोक बोल, अरे यार મને તો આ શેર બહુ ગમી ગયો હતો, मला આ શેર चिकार आवडलेला. मी तो लखमे आहे काय, गालावर लावणार आहेस पावडर, तो घाम आला की निघून जाणार. इमोशन्स नेवर फॉल इन लव विथ योर इन्व्हेस्टमेंट्स प्लीज. You have to be there, absolutely practical, down to earth, person, and take whatever decisions that you want to take whenever you want to book profits. Book the profits and get out. नहीं ये तो और जाने वाला है. चांदी भी 4.5 लाख हो के वापस 2.5 लाख हो गई ना. नहीं होता है ऐसा. Like water finds its own level, market also soon finds its own level. Then, practicing equanimity, samatvam. Maintaining composure during market highs and lows, understanding that both gains and losses are temporary. I would like to quote that particular, sloka 48. योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि संगम त्यक्त्वा धनंजय सिद्धयो असिद्धयो समो भूत्वा समत्वम योग उच्यते. बोले सिद्धि असिद्धि में भी आपको आपका इक्विलिब्रियम पकड़ के रखना है. यानी अनुकूल परिस्थिति और प्रतिकूल परिस्थिति, सुख और दुख, ठंडी और गर्मी, विचलित नहीं होना है. प्लीज़ याद, ये बहुत अच्छी बात सिखाते हैं अपने को कि योगस्थः कुरु कर्माणि, यानी आसक्ति को छोड़ के अपना कर्म करो, अनासक्त हो के अपने कर्म करते रहो. अदरवाइज that is the reason, in the following श्लोक you will have yoga कर्मसु कौशलम. योगा कर्मसु कौशलम का मतलब नहीं ओनली स्किलफुल एट वर्क और एफिशिएंट एट वर्क. कर्म बंधन से मुक्त होना है मुझे, यानी मैं डूअरशिप है, क्या मैं करता हूँ वो भाव निकाल. अकर्ता भाव से अपने कर्म करते हैं, अकर्ता भाव से आपके इन्वेस्टमेंट गोल डिसाइड करो, अकर्ता भाव से स्टडी करो, अकर्ता भाव से इन्वेस्टमेंट करो. दिस इज वेयर द इमोशनल डिटैचमेंट is very important. This is what Bhagvatgita teaches us very nicely and so simply. Please understand this. So, now discipline and detachment together help manage greed and fear, two frequent traps that lead to investment debacles. आपको ग्रिड भी आती है और डर भी बहुत जल्दी लग जाता है. तो इन दोनों को कैसे आपको, unless you manage your emotions, you will be out of greed and out of fear. Maintain your position. In summary, Gita inspired investing is about process orientation, personal discipline, and learning to detach from outcomes, empowering investors to act wisely and calmly regardless of external market conditions. Clear? Then how can we apply this Nishkam Karma to portfolio management? That I will tell you. Nishkam karma, or performing one's duty without attachment to results, provides a valuable approach for portfolio management. This principle encourages investors to stay focused on sound processes and discipline rather than obsessing over short-term gains or losses. So, application in portfolio management. Number one, investors should focus on carrying out diligent research, diversifying and consistently executing their investment strategy regardless of immediate outcomes. समझ गए? वापस मैं रिपीट करता हूँ. See, when you have done your homework, whatever way you want to, those who have been coming to this market directly for the last 10, 15 years, you must have learned, lessons at a very high cost. But still, don't leave it if you are interested. Go back, find out, meet with somebody else. At least try to subscribe the investment journals. From there also you can access how they look at the investment, what is their investment approach. Try to study that income, and then you must diversify. Diversify means what? One single segment may, just because automobile is doing well, Mahindra and Mahindra doing well, Escort Kubota doing well, Bajaj Auto is doing well, Hero Motor, आप सिर्फ automobile industry में segment में ही पड़े रहोगे? No. You have to choose another segments also which can give you, equally reasonable, attractive results. So you must diversification in stock market investment is in thing. Then detachment from short-term results helps avoid panic selling during market dips and euphoria during rallies, enabling rational decision making. I don't have to explain because I have already covered that. Then number 3, by maintaining equanimity, investors avoid emotional reactions and stick to their chosen plan even in volatile times. अभी भी मार्केट जो खराब है, आपकी जो अच्छी इन्वेस्टमेंट डिसीजन लिए जो शेयर्स है, डरो मत, पकड़ के रखो. एक बार वापस शांति से बैठ के जब भी टाइम आवे, अभी थर्ड क्वार्टर का भी रिजल्ट आ गया है, soon we will have the last quarter and the entire annual by April and May beginning, good companies. So you will then see how the company is coming. See, balance sheet doesn't give you or talk about, financial statement don't talk about future growth. It's dated, it is history. But at least you can do the trend analysis. Last 10 years trend analysis of profit and loss and balance sheet, if you see, if the market could be like, their growth, but the underlying graph is going up, that means the management caliber is quite good to beat business cycles. Every business has cycles, please remember. So remember, when the business cycles start following the downward way, जब डाउनवर्ड वे खत्म हो जाता है, मालूम इंडिकेशंस आ जाते हैं, which way the market will go? Going up only. That is the time most of the people sell. Fear. No. This is where you must have a very good habit of reading financial journals and newspapers. Please understand this. कोल्हापुर में मेरे को 20 साल पहले तिथे शेअर होल्डर्स असोसिएशनने मला बोलवले. एक माणूस मुद्दाम आला म्हणायचा, साहेब तुम्ही मला हिंदुस्तान लिव्हर घ्यायला सांगितलं होतं त्यावेळी, मी घेतले, तो पैसे कमावला. आणि मी तू काय करतो स्वतः? काय काय करणार? मी इकॉनॉमिक टाइम्स, अरे इकॉनॉमिक टाइम्स काय घेणार, त्यावेळी 3 रुपयाचं होतं. जो माणूस 3 रुपयाचं इकॉनॉमिक टाइम्स घेऊ शकत नाही, रविवारी येत नव्हतो त्यावेळी, म्हणजे किती दिवस झाले? 365 - 52 डेज. किती झाले? तुझ्याकडे एवढे पैसे नाही आणि तू इक्विटी झाला आहेस, तू काय गंडवागंडवी चालली आहे? माफ करा माझी लँग्वेज. जो माणूस इकॉनॉमिक टाइम्स 3 रुपयाचा वाचू शकत नाही, तो फक्त मी एकदा सांगितलं तू HUL घे, त्यांनी घेतलं आणि तू काय करणार? आणि सर्वात जास्त क्वेश्चन तेच मार्क्सिस्ट माणसं विचारतात. त्यावेळी तर एका काळे होतं, बिफोर दी कंपनीज ॲक्ट वॉज अमेंडेड, the companies used to give, the weaker companies used to give gifts to the shareholders. तो shareholder अपने वाइफ को, फैमिली को लेके आते थे, खाना पीना लेना, गिफ्ट लेके सबके लिए 4-5 गिफ्ट ले जाना. एंड द weaker companies management prefer that because they will never ask you any question. तो ऐसा ही एक आदमी, our Visakha Industries Limited, I was the chairman. I retired in 2021 because of 75 years age. Companies like independent directors have to compulsorily retire. 15 years back, these, जो क्या बोलता है, mischievous shareholder, इधर एक था पारसी बाबा, मैं जब जॉब करता था 70s 80s में, वाडिया. He will come, he will hold 5 shares or 2 shares. Those days he will come. Those days companies never had CFO. We had chief accountants and cashier. He will go and meet them. वो अंदर की बात निकाल लेगा, पैसा देगा और फिर जाके मैनेजमेंट को ब्लैकमेल करेगा. लुक, in a country like India, which was under the grip of socialistic pattern of society, government's policies were negative. So you are forced to do something illegal. I am not taking their side. Please understand. We had a department called SIA, Secretariat of Industrial Approval in Ministry of Industry. So I first go and apply for letter of intent. वो लेटर ऑफ इंटेंट इशू करने में 3-4 साल लगाए गए. फिर अनदर 4-5 years they will do to convert this letter of intent into industrial license. Now see how much water has flown under the bridge. See the escalation in the project cost. See the financial feasibility is impacted negatively. Government never is to see this. So I was forced to pan pe chuna lagao. They injected immorality in the social fibers of the entrepreneurs here in India. So they did it. तो वो कैसे किया? जेब से पैसा निकालने वाला है, प्रोजेक्ट्स में ही निकालेगा ना. तो प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट में उस टाइम आता था कंटिंजेंसी, विच वॉज 5% ऑफ द टोटल प्रोजेक्ट कॉस्ट. व्हाट वाज दिस मेजर कंटिंजेंसी? यही था, पान पे चुना. तो हाउ वुड यू शो दिस थिंग इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स? ठीक है, ड्यूरिंग इम्प्लीमेंटेशन यू विल कैपिटलाइज द एक्सपेंडिचर, बट देन व्हाट? वंस इट बिकम्स रनिंग, it becomes the revenue expenditure. It will impact your profitability directly. So parallel economy was created. See, please understand this in this way. तो वो आदमी आया. Unfortunately, the chairman of that company that day was Mr. Rao, who was the deputy managing director of United Breweries with ये मालिया का बाप के साथ, वित्तल मालिया. Very good man. He expired, I think, on that day, so I had to chair that shareholders meeting. And I have an habit of studying the annual report thoroughly, including the notice and explanatory statements. तो एक ऐसा मिस्चिवस शेयर होल्डर खड़ा हो गया हैदराबाद में. बोले सर, आप अपना मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर का अपॉइंटमेंट रिन्यू करना है 5 साल के लिए. दोज कॉन्ट्रैक्चुअल अपॉइंटमेंट एवरी 5 years you have to appoint them again as managing director with different pay package. तो वो तो सब ठीक है, लेकिन आप मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस में लिखा है 5 लाख रुपये का उसका प्रीमियम, ये इतना बीमार है तो काय को रीअपॉइंट करने का. मैं बोला तेरा सवाल पूछ लिया. मैंने क्या, मैं तो अभी बैठ जा, मैं बोलूँ तब तक खड़ा नहीं होने का. और तेरे को गिफ्ट तो मैं तो आज रखा ही नहीं हमने, तो बैठ. मुझे तूने पढ़ा, आइटम नंबर क्या है, एक्सप्लेनेटरी स्टेटमेंट देखा, पे पैकेज का डिटेल दिया है, तूने दिखा ये इंश्योरेंस क्या है. मैं तो चल वो बात बाद में कर रहा. तेरे को मालूम है टोटल सेल्स कंपनी का कितना है, कितना डोमेस्टिक सेल्स है, कितना एक्सपोर्ट है. तो मैं अभी तेरे को बताऊं, मैंने क्या, मैं तो पिछले साल तक इस कंपनी का एक्सपोर्ट सेल्स था ही नहीं. टोटल 100% वो डोमेस्टिक सेल्स. Last 2 years, this managing director is traveling almost 9 months in a year outside India to develop the market, and in this year account, you have shown 23% is export sales. तो मैं ये आदमी बाहर जाता है, एक्सीडेंट हो सकता है कि नहीं हो सकता है. तो मुझे तू पढ़ अंदर एक्सप्लेनेटरी स्टेटमेंट में क्या लिया, मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस नहीं है, एक्सीडेंट इंश्योरेंस है. बिना पढ़ के आया था. वो बोला चेयरमैन का मैं खींचू पाओ. मैं तो बैठ, अभी दूसरी बार मत पूछना. मैं तो डोंट टेक अस फॉर ग्रांटेड. सो व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू ड्राइव एट इज यू शुड डू ऑल्सो द होमवर्क दैट वे. इट इज पॉसिबल. अनलेस यू मेक एन अटेम्प्ट, नथिंग वुड हैपन. Accepting that both gains and losses are temporary fosters patience and perseverance, key attributes for long-term portfolio growth. Now, what are the core takeaways? I'll finish within a few minutes now. Prioritize the investment process over prediction or control of market returns. Emphasize self-discipline and patience, practicing non-attachment to both profits and losses. And regularly review and make adjustments based on financial goals and not short-term anxiety. You have to review your portfolio not because of your anxiety. बस अभी ये लास्ट पेज है, ख़त्म कर देता हूँ. What kind of questions you should ask yourself for applying Nishkarma to your investment goals? First question you should ask, define clear personal goals. That means retirement plan, new home purchase, children's higher education, etc. And align investments to your unique needs, not others' outcomes or trends. Build a process-driven strategy. Research thoroughly, set asset allocation and pick quality securities based on fundamental filters like return on investments, free cash flow, debt कितना है, debt free है. Then automate discipline by setting up systematic investment plans so that you mandate your bank account so every month वो चला जाएगा. This is discipline. Commit to reviewing portfolio at scheduled regular intervals, say every quarter or 6 months, and not daily to avoid reactive decisions. इन्वेस्टर को नॉर्मली होता है, न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ता है कि टीवी के सामने बैठते तो वही देखता है, अरे मर गया CNBC में. If you watch this kind of TV channels and 100% follow, I guarantee you, you will never make money. I'm not criticizing them. All of them have vested interest in this market. Please understand this. It's like a medical profession. Sorry to say this, but it's true. Maintain cash reserves equivalent to 6 to 12 months expenses for market corrections and opportunities. Current market में जो है, this is the time you get the best opportunities to pick good shares at a price which will never be available in future again, unless you have this kind of cash reserves. और क्वेश्चन जो पूछना है, am I making this decision based on my plan or in reaction to market news or others' opinions? First question. Second, have I given myself enough time to let my emotions settle before acting on this decision? Third, is my urge to act driven by fear of loss or missing out, or the excitement of recent gains? होता है कभी बार. Have I reviewed the reasons and goals behind my original investment, or am I chasing short-term moves? If I feel anxious or greedy, what evidence do I have that acting now is better than staying the course? Will this action help achieve my long-term objective, or is it just an emotional relief or thrill? How would I advise a friend in my situation? Would I suggest they stay disciplined if I am myself not? Have I scheduled a portfolio review, or am I checking performance compulsively because of market headlines? After making this decision, will I be able to accept the outcome, knowing I followed my process regardless of the result? Well, these questions reinforce the habit of pausing, reflecting and focusing on your process rather than your emotions in order to make sound, detached investment decisions. Thank you. Yeah, I will prefer a chair now. Yeah, I'll take it. And I'll sit here. Feel free. Hanji.
Thank you for relating Bhagvatgita with the financial achievements. Of course, Bhagvatgita is our Dharma Grantha and everything is connected with the life. It will come in 100 years. But as a common investor, basically, I took your words as if you have to study the fundamentals or you have to do your exercise. Frank problem is that person like me, the fundamental of accountancy itself is not so clear. So studying fundamental and doing exercise, like बच्चे को बोलते हैं कि बहुत पढ़ाई करो लेकिन पढ़ाई कर से मार्क नहीं मिलता, वो तो करता है पढ़ाई लेकिन उसका दिमाग में नहीं जाता है. So in that case, saving is one thing, very nice, one can do it, or maybe long-term investment. Long-term investment is very good, that one can do it.
Dhruv.
So,
Dhruv. Pani bhai.
do you suggest that common man, where studying the balance sheet is not so easy. Studying the balance sheet is not so easy, or understanding fundamentals now. As a thumb rule, investing in the mutual fund and finding a good fund manager or finding a good portfolio manager, is it enough or something else we have to do? Please.
You said yourself, mutual fund is right for you.
Okay.
Even if you go to a fund advisor, investment advisor, you won't be able to afford his fees. I'll tell you how we operate. I used to manage personal portfolios of my clients. I never used to charge him brokerage. Said, whatever profits you will make, you have to pay 30% to me. And no participation in losses. Because I am not a god.
Correct.
I may recommend 10 shares, you will make money in 8, and last 2 में नहीं बनाते हो तो अरे यार तुमने मेरे को डुबो दिया. That is not your cup of tea. As a small investor and at your age,
No
don't
good.
do these exercises.
Just invest in mutual fund.
Mutual fund.
Thank you. Guru sir.
So may I ask a question?
Huh?
Sorry. So we can. Okay.
No, I just wanted to ask you, well, as a chartered accountant, I understand the balance sheet. But then, for a common person, reading today's balance sheet, running into 500 pages, has become absolutely a nightmare. Now, in such a situation, how a common investor can read balance sheet properly? Is there any way out?
There
It's
is
a
a
problem which many face.
Yeah. You know, the small way out is in a manner. There are little thumb rules you must remember. What is the company's paid up capital? What are the company's reserves, which are plowed back profits, retained earnings? Larger the reserves, better the company. This is the net worth of the company, right? Divided by number of shares, you get book value. Compare this book value with the market price. If the book market price is lower than book value, company is fundamentally strong, buy. But if the market price is 5 times, 6 times, 10 times, don't touch, because P is quite high. What is price equity ratio? Price equity ratio is nothing but the projected profits of the company. At today's price, if this is the earning, what would be the future earning and what would be the price? So don't go into that, that is not for you. Just look at the company's net worth and then look at companies, liability side particularly. Many companies have long-term loans for project finance, this is fine. Because that particular interest portion is capitalized. So it is not debited to profit and loss. But the working capital, that means if the working capital, short-term borrowing is nothing but working capital. If they are very high, you just see, look at in profit and loss account, what is the interest outgo. ठीक है? और फिर देखो, how many times the profits after tax covers this interest. If my profit after tax is 10 rupees and my interest outgo is 2, so my interest liability is covered 5 times by my profit. So I have enough capacity to bear the interest. But if my profit is only 6 rupees and the interest outgo is 2, then I am in trouble. These are the small things you must remember. And also look at the sales and bills receivables, means sundry debtors. Higher the bills receivables, right, में आपका credit sales है. अपने को कोई interest नहीं, cash flow तो ही नहीं. These are small things, but I would still advise you should go to mutual funds. Because I'll tell you, people look at the profit and loss account and balance. How many of you really read the notes to accounts? मालूम ही नहीं किसी को. Notes to accounts given by auditor. That's where you have to read in between the line तो मालूम पड़ेगा. एक बार, I think Kamath was the chairman managing director of ICICI Bank. 15 साल हो गया मेरे को, I don't exactly remember. I was reading the notes to accounts. And on contingent liabilities, banks have contingent liabilities because the banks issues bank guarantees, performance guarantees. Now this contingent liability, legally, it may or may not occur. Right? It won't fall as a liability. So on the notes to accounts, the auditor has mentioned that this bank's contingent liability is 13,50,000 crores. And the net worth, paid up capital plus reserves, is only 44,000 crores. Now suppose 5% of this contingent liability crystallizes as a liability, you are wiped out. ICICI बैंक का नाम लेके मेरे को इन्वेस्ट करना है. Remember what Shakespeare said. What is there in the name? These are the notes which you people are not capable of reading because it requires a lot of patience to read and then understand. So you should not come directly to this market. Come in a mutual fund today, you can see our industry has come of age. We have very talented fund managers with at least top 10 or 12 mutual funds. They have given good returns if you compare 1 year, 3 year, 5 years. They have given good returns. Some of them have even gone up to 29%. So why? What more do you want? Globally, equity market gives you return of 12%. In India only it's 20% plus, which is good enough for you. Or if your risk profile is not there at this age, most of the time, I look at your faces, buy the RBI floating rate bonds of 8.05%. Highest rate, no fixed deposit will give you that rate. And a sovereign guarantee. Market risk है ही नहीं. Buy that and आराम करो. 1st January, 1st July, they credit your interest to your bank account. और 7 साल पकड़ के रखना है. You are not allowed for premature withdrawal. 7 years maturity proceeds मिल जाएगा. There is no TDS, but you have to pay tax on that interest when you show in your income tax return. But RBI doesn't deduct tax at source. So go for that. Best. कोई रिस्क नहीं है. आराम करो, घर में बैठो, रोज सुबह जॉगर्स पार्क जाओ, आते टाइम समोसा जलेबी खा के आओ. और क्या चाहिए?
Sir, this goes back to your day during BSE when you were the president. One Gita principle, inspired principle, which helped you navigate through the most turbulent times. I believe that was the most difficult time when markets were getting transformed from a physical system into an electronic system. So, and you were heading
this only yoga samatvam uchyate. This. I used to get up. After I left my job, I did job for 13 years. Joined that company as a manager, became the managing director and left it, started my own, 3 different partnerships because only I had the contact with the corporate world. I used to bring business, I used to execute the deals, but I never had the capital with me. So my financial partners, and I used to travel a lot within India and outside India to mobilize money and also to do international loan syndications with World Bank. So by the time I come back, they have drained out the bank account. I never fought with them. I accepted that thing as a reality and started my afresh. 3 बार ऐसा हुआ. Naturally, this happens. मेरे साथ क्यों ऐसा होता है? Every one of us feel that. मैंने क्या किसका खराब किया? So I used to wake up at 2:30 in the night. बहुत 2-3 महीना लगा to, stabilize your thought process. And then I took my Bhagvatgita. I must have read over 40-45 commentaries on Bhagvatgita of different commentators. But the best I found was Ramsukdas Ji Maharaj of Gita Press, Sadhak Sanjivani. Best. सादी सीधी लैंग्वेज में है, कोई भी मनुष्य पढ़ेगा सीधा उतर जाएगा. नो हाई-फाई लैंग्वेज. सो आई स्टार्टेड रीडिंग दैट. खोलता हूँ, जो पढ़ना आता है चलता है. It took me 6 months to stabilize my thought process, my this instability that we had. मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ, मेरे साथ क्यों हुआ, मैंने किसका खराब नहीं किया है. And then I came on the board of stock exchange. And Harshad Mehta was once my sub broker. इसका लफड़ा बाहर आया और उसकी पैनल ने जो कस्टोडियल बनाई ना, they made me a member of that. I said that will be a conflict of interest. Why? He was my sub broker. So they said no, you have to continue. Then I became the president and chairman of governing board of BSE. I never attended a single meeting because I knew what he had done. So when you know what he had done, custodian will never accept that. He never defaulted in stock markets. It was only government securities market he did gadbad. On every payout of stock market operations, whatever they had bought, he paid on time. He never committed any default there. So I had access to stock exchange division in Ministry of Finance. I used to go and tell them, look, you have put me on this panel, don't. This is what, if you want, I'll give you as a very private, classified information to government. Look at this. You are alleging him because of political reasons, he was also penalized. वो छोड़ दो, डिटेल में नहीं जाना है. But Bhagavad Gita taught me this. Accept any kind of this situation as a reality. वास्तविकता का स्वीकार करो. Then you will be able to find the solution. But if you fight with this reality, you will never be able to come out of it. That is what Bhagavad Gita told me. Therefore, Sankhya Yoga, Shloka 62 and 63 you must remember. Dhyayato Vishayan Punsa Sangaste Shupajayate Sangat Sanjayate Kamaha Kamat Krodho Vijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha Sammohat Smriti Vibhrama Smriti Bhramsat Buddhinasho Buddhinashat Pranaschati. In this simple way, Shri Krishna is explained. ध्यायतो विषयान पुंसा मीन्स आपके अंदर विषय वासना का विचार आया, फिर वो विषय वासना आपकी इच्छा बनी, तो इच्छा बनी तो आपको वो प्राप्त करने का पुश मिला, आपने वो प्राप्त करने की कोशिश की, यू नेवर बीन एबल टू गेट इट, तो आपको क्रोध आया तो आप सम्मूढ़ हो गए, सम्मूढ़ हुआ यानी क्या हो गए, आपने अपनी ये बैलेंस खो दी, तो आपकी बुद्धि भी मर गई, तो जिसकी बुद्धि वाला प्रणश्यति तो वो तो जिंदा लाश है. See how Bhagavad Gita gives you all these inputs. If you know and understand this, try to imbibe this thing in your day-to-day life. My stock exchange में moment I became this thing, then we had a staff of 650 people. Most of them, we met there in our big hall. He said, boss, namaskar. I am not your boss. I am a captain of the team. You observe me as a captain, also how I am performing. I am not your boss. I told my community also, I will remain a broker always, not a president always. Never. Disciplinary action committee against member broker, I never said true. Why? Because I have no right to look at or investigate the books of accounts of my fellow brokers. Because I am also a broker. Now this comes from within. Nobody teaches you this. This comes from within. This is humanity. ये जो मानव कल्याण की जो बात की है ना भगवत गीता में, वो अर्जुन को सिखाया. We are all thankful to Arjun. If he had accepted, everything what Krishna said, we wouldn't have got Bhagavad Gita. मिलती ही नहीं. तो ये चीज याद रखने का, how clean and clear you are. It starts with you, not with someone else. And I think that's.
Sir, you said something about fancy shares in the market. How to identify, deal with?
No, you don't have to identify that. The market is a fancy for that share. So look at this kind of quick delivery services companies incurring losses and still the market is showing premium. मेरे तो दिमाग में नहीं जाता है. मैं Zomato का तो डिलीवरी भी नहीं मंगवाता हूँ. शेयर क्या लूँगा?
So you are telling fancy shares are like Jubilee?
No, this is because there are trader in the market pushing that script. That is the fancy of the market. See, fancy means what? In the market, there are people who have a fancy for trading in that share, so they keep on pushing down the price without fundamentals. तो ऐसे शेयर से दूर रहो. ऐसे शेयर से दूर रहो. काफ़ी है. अभी नाम लूँगा तो उसके ब्रोकर को आप बात बोले, तेरे लिए भगीरथ भाई ऐसा बोलता था, ऐसा हो जाए. नेवर पॉइंट अ फिंगर एट समवन एल्स. वी नो दिस इज अ रियलिटी. ये गंदगी है मार्केट की, हम जानते हैं. बात फुल स्टॉप.
Thank you so much, sir. I'll request Mr. Mukund Chitre to give a vote of thanks.
Namaste. I think it's a great opportunity for me to thank Bhagirath because I must have known him from, I think, college days. And therefore, when I learned that he's going to speak on this, I thought, let me come and attend. Now, before I say thanks to him, I think few thoughts more as a person connected with Lokmanya Seva Sangha and Puvi Bhagvat Kendra. I think what he pointed out was absolutely correct. All of us read Bhagavad Gita more as a dharmic grantha and let it remain in that cupboard. I have nothing to do with it. By and large, I think if we change our approach, things can be different. First point. That means it is something which we can implement. I think that's what he really taught us. See, rather than going on what he exactly said, if we think of why he said that, I think it will make a bigger difference to all of us. Secondly, there is a book by Dhananjay Gokhale. He has written many books, but on Bhagavad Gita he has written a book where he writes, like Arjuna and Krishna were two friends. And Krishna was explaining to a friend what to do, what not to do. If you read Bhagavad Gita from that angle, it makes a big difference. That means initially he shouts, then he does many things, and then he finally, both of them agree that this is what is to be done. I think that's the way to do it. As Lokmanya Seva Sangha, I would suggest something to our Puvi Bhagvat Kendra, because he pointed out that, look, how do you read balance sheet, how do you read accounts? I think that is something which is possible. I can't say we can become experts, but instead of having every time only some mutual fund person or share broker to come and talk to us, we can go to the next stage of understanding how to read balance sheet, how to look at governance, because ultimately this is Puvi Bhagvat Guntawnuk Kendra. And if you remember our first prarthana that we say in Marathi, it is not share market. गुंतवणुकीच्या सगळ्या शाखांचा अभ्यास करून त्यांचा सर्वदूर विचार करून माणूस म्हणून मी ह्या क्षेत्रात कसा पुढे येईन याचा आपण विचार केला पाहिजे अशी ती आपल्याला प्रार्थना सांगते. मग ती प्रार्थना तसं सांगते तर आपल्याला पण आपल्या ॲक्शन्स किंवा आपल्या ॲक्टिव्हिटीज त्याप्रमाणे पुढे न्यायला लागतील. म्युच्युअल फंडवाल्यांना दरवेळी बोलवलं तर काय आपल्याला अडचण नाही आहे, पण त्यांनी सांगितलं की म्युच्युअल फंड इन्व्हेस्टमेंट ठीक आहे, परंतु जर भागवत गुंतवणूक केंद्र असेल तर ती बॅलन्स शीट वाचायची कशी, ज्या कंपनीत आपण इन्व्हेस्ट करतो त्यांचा गव्हर्नन्स कसा असतो वगैरे थोडीशी पुढची स्टेप जर आपण घेतली तर आय थिंक आपली आपण थोडीशी उंची वाढवल्यासारखं होऊ शकतं. सो आय थिंक आय मस्ट थँक हिम फॉर बीइंग हिअर, अ ग्रेट पर्सन, practical person. So it was not a lecture, it was his own understanding of what Bhagavad Gita tells him how to make investment. I think, thank you very much, and we'll keep on bothering you again and again.
Oh, sure. My pleasure.